Hey guys, this is Lieutenant Dan coming with another video on my progress of my custom Axis and Allies table build. So if you remember the first video, I basically showed you what I did to create the base, right? The legs and the structure holding up the base. Second video, I showed you the all of the understructure connecting the base to the tabletop. And also in video 2, I showed you where I added the framing around the tabletop to include a piece of sheet metal. All right, so in this video, what I'm going to do is show you the steps I took to create the frame around the map. All right, so here we go. All right, so here's a cross section of the frame. It's made up of multiple components. It's actually 2.5 inches tall, and you can see where I've sketched out, where the map resides, where the border of the map is, so I can see how far to make things. But I wanted to have that kind of sunken in effect, where you're looking down on the map. You'll have this big frame around it. And so you see that I have a couple things for the gameplay and an area. See where it's at 1x3. There's a little cutout to the right of that that's allow players to put in those cards, the BBR cards, so they can put those along in front of them. And then there's a place on flat space on top of the frame to put whatever you want. And then there's the Ipc Tracker, those cubes that Sire Blood had made with their finishing pieces there. And then right below that, the Ipc Tracker that goes all the way around the frame, there's going to be an LED light. Yes, I did say it, an LED light all the way around the map. So let me show you what I did. All right, so what I did was I took a 1x2, cut it to length, and attached it to the table. You can see that I've done kind of one layer, right, all the way around the metal frame. So I glued it down, and then also screwed it from the bottom up to attach it. Now the next thing that I'm doing here, because I wanted a thick frame, is I'm just doubling it up. I got another 1x2, cut it to the exact same length, add a nice fine layer of glue there, and then I'm going to, again, clamp it and screw it from the bottom up. So here you can see it's attached, clamped up, everything fits really nice. And then I just repeated that for the other ends, except for one, that being where the LED lights where actually the LED lights will be fed to the outside of the table. So as you can see here, I chiseled out where I want the wires to feed through the frame, and then ultimately down to the bottom of the table where the power pack will be. I really wanted the ability to remove the LED lights if something bad were to ever happen, which, believe it or not, it did. All right, so once I had everything cut out the way that I wanted, I basically just added some glue and clamped it all together and screwed from the bottom up to attach it to the table. Everything came out really nice and flush and exactly the way that I was hoping it to work out. All right, so what we just did was that yellow section that I've highlighted. So I added 2 1x2s and glued them together. Now what I'm going to do is attach that piece that says 2x2. It's the top piece. It has multiple cuts to it. So I'm going to show you what I did there. All right, so I took a 2x2, it's 3 foot long, cut it to the proper width, add that additional cut for the IPC trackers to fit in, and I also added a miter. And here I'm just sliding it in. You see that extra board there? That just allows me to keep that piece that I've added flush with the inside and the outside of the frame. And once I get the miter lined up, then I take another piece to fill in that little gap there. So it's cut exactly the same. And what I'll do then is drill holes from the top down to connect it to the frame that's underneath. And then I'll have a finishing board that goes on top to hide that seam that you see there, as well as the holes that will be made for the screws. All right, so the best way I figured out how to attach that upper frame piece to the lower frame was to clamp in that one board there to keep things flush, and squeeze the two boards together and drill and countersink each hole, and then go ahead and drill things together. So it kept things really tight and flush. And here are all the pieces screwed in, looking nice and tight. I was really happy with the way that things came out. And so the next part of the project is going to be adding the LED lights. All right, so I picked out some LED channel that would sit up underneath the IPC tracker, that inner frame, and it would be pointing down. So where my index finger is there, that's would be sitting up against the IP trackers. And that surface there will be where the LED lights sit on. And that way it won't be pointing in the player's eyes. It'll be pointing down to the map. And basically you just take that blue strip off the LED strip, stick it onto the LED channel, and then you take this white cover. It's like a diffuser to diffuse the light a little bit. And that's it. Okay, so I got everything installed. What I'm showing you right here is that in the case the LED light strips fail or something like that, I'll be able to take this piece right here off to allow me to unroute the LED strip, because I have it routed through the frame down through the bottom of the table, which you'll see here in a second. There you go. So it all kind of fits nicely there. That won't be shown because there'll be finished boards around the table, closing it all up, and you're not going to be able to see the wires. So everything should fit nice and snug. And here's how it looks. So everything pretty much is a nice tight fit up against the sides of the frame. It's flush to where the IPC trackers will sit in the ledge of the frame, the wooden piece there. So basically the IPC tracker will be ultimately glued onto that little ledge, not the metal frame. And then I'll pin nail it into the side of the frame as well. And there's what it looks like. I think it adds a nice look. I put the diffuser on just a couple ends, not everywhere. So that diffuser helps to break up the light, and so that you can't tell that there's LEDs there per se. But I think it really adds a nice little effect to the game. Be interesting to see what it looks like with the pieces on there. All right, now I'm going to create the IPC tracker. So in doing so, you have to take a board cut to size and then a 3/4 inch height, well, in my case, height strip, cut it 3/32 width. And essentially what I did was I just, glued the pieces together and used a pin nailer to drive a few pins in there. And then just to help keep everything together, I clamped it up. So, before I did the pinning and the gluing, I had it flush on that board that you see that the clamps are kind of resting on, so that everything was nice and flush. And here they are. So I really only needed about 21 feet, really less, of cubes. But I had these 3 8-foot boards that I went ahead and glued up. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and sand everything up and prime it. The primer I used is this stuff that Sire Blood and G.I. Joe used, both on their tables as well as on their pieces. So I went ahead and bought that, and now I'm going to just put a nice coating on them. And here is the end result. So just a nice dusting, not too heavy. That's what I remember the most of one of Sire Blood's videos. So just enough just so the paint will stick once I start applying the final coat. And here's the first batch. That was a 8-foot board I cut up. I needed about, so I thought at the time, about 204. Turned out I don't need quite that many, but it was a nice exercise. Took me a couple hours to burn through, creating inch blocks. Came out pretty nice, and there's an example of taking a finished piece, right? That's going to cover up all the on the inside of all the Ipc Tracker, all the lines. So that's how it'll look. Again, I still have to add another board on top of the frame there to cover up the holes, and it'll come up flush to the ridges of the Ipc Tracker there. So it'll be about 1/4 of an inch. So it'll all look nice and flush. And the Ipc Tracker will have a nice square indentation built in. All right, I'm going to go off and finish up and then put it all together. And here it is. This is what I have done thus far. So I just wanted to kind of put everything together here just to kind of get a good look of how it is. Assembled all the Ipc trackers and research and development and the victory points and all that stuff around, just to kind of get an idea of the look and feel. And of course, I'll fill in the corners with blank pieces of frame. That'll be easy to do. All right, guys, I think it's time to close out. I'm going to take a little bit time off on doing the videos. I'm really caught up with where I'm at today. I am going to, in the next couple weeks, figure out the tray placement, the widths of the tray, how to put in the pieces, and basically building custom trays for each of the countries, as well as trying to figure out the best and most optimum way to track information during gameplay. Like here with the victory points, and also the time or the turn, the order of countries, things like that. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.